Welcome to the Good Leadership Podcast, where we bring you insights from the brightest minds in leadership and management. Today, I'm honored to share my recent conversation with the legendary Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, who has revolutionized the field of executive coaching, along with being a four-time New York Times bestselling author and one of the most influential leadership thinkers of our time. In this episode, we dive into the challenges of behavior change, why it's so difficult, and the powerful strategies Marshall has developed to overcome them. From understanding traps of winning too much to embracing the transformative power of daily reflection, Marshall shares practical tools that leaders can apply immediately to improve themselves and their teams. We will also explore what it means to live an earned life and uncover the habits that set successful leaders apart. So whether you're a seasoned executive or an aspiring leader, this conversation will inspire and equip you to drive meaningful change in your life and within your organization. I hope you enjoy. Welcome to the Good Leadership Podcast, where we engage with esteemed thought leaders and explore research-backed strategies and techniques that empower leaders at every level to achieve meaningful results that drive lasting change. Let's dive into one of those core challenges of leadership, behavior change. We try to impact and influence that in the learning and development space. It is really difficult to change someone's behavior. What strategies have you found to be most effective in this space?
Well, what I do is called stakeholder-centered coaching. Stakeholder-centered coaching, and I've taught thousands of IMS people about this. It's a pretty straightforward process. Everyone I coach, you get feedback from everyone around you. Confidential feedback, by the way. I write a report. It's very detailed. Most of them have never seen such a report. They figure out, what am I doing well? What do I want to do better? Now, if you're the CEO, the board has to approve it. If you're not the CEO has to approve it. I don't want to work with you for a year and a half and you get better and they say you fixed the wrong thing. Well, who are your stakeholders? Everybody agrees on the stakeholders. Ultimately, after the feedback, what do you want to improve? Everybody agrees on that. Simple model. They get better. Do I get paid? Is it worth it? They say it's worth it. Fine. You can't lose. They get better, pay me. They don't get better, it's free. Pretty hard to argue with this, right? Well, and it works. What do you do then? You, if you're my client, have to apologize. You get in front of everybody, say, I got this feedback. Thank you very much. I'm very grateful. You talk about the good things and express gratitude. Thank you. What is the good feedback? I don't know who said what, the good things here. And thank you. Then you don't say, but you say, and here's what I want to improve. You pick a couple things to improve, not 50. 1 or 2 is fine, or 3. That's it. Then you apologize. For example, if I haven't listened to you with other people in the past, I'm sorry. No excuses. I can't change the past. I can just say, I'm sorry. I'm going to try to do better. Then feed forward. You don't ask for more feedback about the past. You ask for ideas for the future. Give me ideas moving forward. They're really going to help me get better at listening. What would they be? Whatever they say, sit there, shut up, take notes, and say thank you. Don't judge and critique. And you do it over and over and over. You do follow-up. What's follow-up sound like? It's been 2 months. I said I want to be a better listener. Give me more ideas. 4 months, 6 months, 8 months, 10 months. What happens if you do this? So if anybody listening wants a copy of the article, it's called Leadership as a Contact Sport. Send me an email, marshall@marshallgoldsmith.com. I published this thing. It's been 86,000 people in the research. You get better, by the way, but you don't get better because you meet me. You don't get better because you go to a class. You get better because you do the work.
The two biggest barriers that you mentioned too, which I agree with, are one, the comfort of the familiar. The inertia is a powerful force keeping us from making those first steps toward change. And a lot of us underestimate that our environment is full of triggers that can pull us off course.
You know, you're right. First, a lot of us don't understand inertia. We think inertia means I'm sitting there doing nothing. No. Inertia means if you've been doing this, you keep doing this. So inertia does not mean you're doing nothing. It just means you keep doing what you have been doing. The best prediction of what we're doing in the future is the past. And so, overcoming inertia is a real challenge. And the environment is critically important. My book, Triggers, that was a #1 New York Times bestseller as well. That one focused on the environment. A couple of schools of thought about the environment, okay? One school of thought is life is random. It's not really environmental, or it's just random chance, right? Another school is everything is the environment. Basically, B.F. Skinner, we're controlled by the environment. We're like a stimulus response machine. The guy from Harvard wrote about this. I'm not a stupid person. The other is the secret, which to me is equally ridiculous, which is all I have to do is envision something and it happens, which is, yeah, right. I envision my cancer is going to go away. It will. No, it won't. No, this is just nonsense. That sold 7 million copies, by the way. People like to read that garbage. It's just insane, right? If I envision it will happen. No, if you envision it, you may increase the odds it's going to happen, but you can't guarantee it's going to happen. You can't wish away death. I mean, get real here, you know? And then my belief is, in a certain level, we do control the world around us, and the world around us controls us. We do influence the environment, and the environment influences us. When you see someone cry, you feel sad. See someone smile, you feel happy. Why? We are influenced by the world around us in a lot of ways we never think about even. So as we journey through life, we are bombarded with stimulus in the environment. And if you look at today, I mean, social media, an unmitigated disaster for many people. They're addicted to it. I was working right now, I wrote an article in Chief Executive Magazine about South Korea. I just published it. And again, send me an email, marshall@marshallgoldsmith.com if you want any of these articles. You have to remind me what they're about. But it talks about South Korea. Now, South Korea was poor, dirt poor. Now they are in many ways rich. The economy's gone like that. They lead the world in depression. They have passed Japan. They lead the developed world in suicide. They lead the world in plastic surgery. What happened? What happened? Well, what happened? And more people are living alone than ever. They have the lowest birth rate in the developed world now. What happened? Well, what happened is largely people start comparing themselves to other people. And no matter how well they're doing, they don't feel I'm doing as good as somebody else. They see these fake images on social media and these beautiful people. They have to get plastic surgery to look like these people. And they basically have lost a sense of humanity. So, really important. Look how the environment can influence people. And especially if you have kids. If you have kids, you have to be careful about this stuff. Kids, an average kid flunking out of school in the United States spends 55 hours a week on non-academic media. That's a drug. That's a drug, and it is bad. And by the way, people are being paid billions of dollars with one goal: make you addicted. That's it. They're getting paid billions, and they're smart people. Smart people getting paid billions of dollars. They have one goal: addict your teenage kid to this stuff, and they're good at it.
I agree. They're very good at it, and I have 3 kids to attest to that. It's
One thing I talk about is vicarious living. That means living someone else's life. You want to have a great life? Live your own life. Not the movie star's life, not the athlete's life. Now, I'll give you the extreme example of vicarious living. This is what I call vicarious living cubed. You see, in the old days, there were people that would wrestle with each other, wrestling. Oh, but then you had people watch the wrestlers, vicarious, getting satisfaction watching them wrestle. Then you had people who were actors who pretended to be wrestlers. Then you have people watching an actor pretending to be a wrestler. Now you have people with video games. In the video game, you have a video guy playing a game where he is pretending to be an actor who is pretending to be a wrestler. But now we've had literally 1 billion times someone has watched someone else play a video game. They're imagining they're playing a video game. They're pretending to play a video game. A guy is pretending to be an actor who's pretending to be a wrestler. By the way, this is not 1 or 2 hours. This is billions, not million, billions of times this has happened.
wow.
This is insane. Your kids do this stuff. Don't do this. Now, there may be some social value into watching a guy pretend to be part of the World Wrestling Federation. There may be, but you got to stretch it, in my mind. I cannot see 1 iota of social value that comes to this billion of views. It's insane.
I agree with you. And you mentioned in the book, it's don't be narcotized by vicarious living and live your own life. Part of what's fascinating about your work, and I've had Sally Helgeson on the program several times, it's you focus on stopping bad habits rather than building new ones. And I asked Sally about this too. And I said, why is your focus like this? Well, Charles, she said, it's easier to stop some bad habits in some cases. And it's easier to have a to don't list than it is to have a to do list.
Well, my book, What Got You Here, What Was You There? That's why it's one of the most popular books ever written. It talks about what not to do. And, I was interviewing the Harvard Business Review and asking a question: what is the number one problem of all the successful people you've coached? What is that number one problem? My answer was winning too much. Now, what's that mean? It's important we want to win. Meaningful, win. Critical, win. Trivial, win. And not worth it, win anyway. Winners love winning. It's hard to stop. And when you're at the bottom, it's not bad. When you get to the top, it's a disaster. You got to quit doing that. You got to quit trying to win. Quit proving how smart you are. Winning too much. You want to go to everybody listening. You want to go to dinner at restaurant X. Your wife, husband, or partner wants to go to dinner at restaurant Y. You have an argument. You go to restaurant Y. It was not your choice. The food tastes awful and the service is terrible. Option A, critique the food. Point out our partner was wrong. This mistake could have been avoided if you just listened to me. Option B, shut up. Eat the stupid food. Try to enjoy it and have a nice night. What would I do? What should I do? Almost all my clients, what would I do? Critique the food. What should I do? Shut up. Shut up. Another case study. You have a hard day at work. You come home. Your husband, wife, or partner's there. The other person says, I had such a hard day today. I had such a tough day. And we reply, you had a hard day. You had a hard day. You know what I had to put up with today? We're so competitive. We have to prove we are more miserable than the people we live with. I gave this example to my class at the Dartmouth Tug School. This kid raised his hand. He said, I did that last week. I said, what happened? My wife looked at me. She said, honey, you just think you've had a hard day. It is not over.
I love that. And you've learned from Peter Drucker too, and from your own experience, right? We spend a whole lot of time teaching leaders what to do, but not enough time teaching them what to stop.
Exactly. Peter Drucker is the one that inspired that book. He taught me that. He said, half the leaders I meet don't need to learn what to do. They need to learn what to stop. And it's much simpler. For example, I teach people don't start sentence with no, but, or however. That's pretty simple. I give you advice. You say no, but, or however. It's not like you're just shutting me off. You're ignoring me. I'm wrong. I find my clients $20 every time they do that. So one guy's stubborn and opinionated. I'm reviewing his feedback report. He said, but Marshall, I said, that's free. You do that again, it's $20. He goes, but Marshall, 20. No, 40. No. 60, 80, 100. He lost $420 in an hour and a half. At the end of an hour and a half, he said to me, thank you. He said, I had no idea. He did that 21 times with me throwing it in his face. How many times would he done it had I not been throwing it in his face? 50, 100? He said, all I do is I prove I'm right and they're wrong over and over. That's all I do. Wow. He got so much better as a listener. Just quit doing that. Don't somebody talks to you. Shut up. You have to promise to do everything. Shut up and listen and say thank you. Tell them you'll get back to them. If you talk, you're probably going to go in the wrong direction.
Well, that's important when receiving feedback or getting that critical feedback, especially is you don't have to promise that you're going to do everything, but just shut up, say thank you, and say, I'll work on it and I'll consider it.
Yeah, exactly. No one expects you to do everything. All my IMS classes, what I always tell people? Nobody thinks you're going to change everything. Nobody thinks you're going to change anything. You go back and make any significant positive change, they are ecstatic. By the way, if you don't think this is true, ask your husband, wife, or partner a question. You tell them this. So I just listened to this friendly, bald coach, Marshall, and I'm going to be a better partner. Look at their face. Nobody thinks you're going to change. And the longer we've known people, the less likely they are to think we're going to change.
Well, another important insight that you bring, which I don't think is talked about enough, when you think you're changing by a lot, people perceive it differently. You have to change by a great deal for them to see the impact.
That's why follow-up is so important. Now, let's imagine, I'll give you two case studies. Case study one, I get feedback that I make too many destructive comments about people. I say, okay, pretty straightforward. Not going to do that. I go 7 months and never make one bad comment about anyone. You're my coworker. 7 months later, say, idiots in finance, stupid bean counters, how are we getting done? Companies run by accountants, you hear me. Your first reaction is, he's never changed. You see, that one comment will trigger the previous stereotype. You never changed. Case study two, I talk to you. I say, Charles, I got this feedback about destructive comments. I'm sorry. I want to try to do better. Give me ideas. You don't really think I'm going to change, but, you listen. 2 months later, though, I've said I want to be a great team player, not make bad comments. It's been 2 months. Give me ideas. Now you think. You've been doing a good job. 4 months. Good job. 6 months. Yeah, I didn't think you'd change at all. You worked hard. Thank you. 7 months. You say, you went 7 months without doing that. You shouldn't have said that. I said, you're right. I'm going to apologize. Situation A, did my behavior change? Yes. Did your perception change? No. Situation B, did my behavior change? Yes. Did your perception change? Yes. In leadership, it doesn't matter what we say. It only matters what they hear.
These habits can be challenging for leaders to overcome because they are often ingrained and reinforced by their past successes. However, like you say, identifying and actively working to stop these behaviors, leaders can eventually remove some significant barriers to their effectiveness and improve their relationships and performance. One CEO told me, Charles, as you move up the hierarchy and get into the C suite, it's not about how much you know, it's about the questions that you ask.
Well, Peter Drucker taught me that as well. He said, look, the leader of the past knew how to tell. The leader of the future knows how to ask. Why? In the past, we lived in a much simpler world. The bosses knew more than the direct reports. The bosses could tell them what to do and how to do it because they knew more. Today, most of us manage people called knowledge workers. A knowledge worker knows more about what they're doing than their boss. If you know more about what you're doing than I do, I can't tell you what to do and how to do it. Why? You know more than me already. I have to ask, listen, learn, involve you. That's the new world. In the new world, at least at the level, how many CEOs know more technically about what they're doing than everyone reports to them? If they know more than their direct reports, they have the wrong team. They get the wrong team. They want their direct reports to know more than them.
Wanted you to share this tool that you've used throughout your time, and it's been very powerful. It's the daily questions approach, which measures effort rather than results, which is so critical. How has this method really helped transform behaviors for you and your clients?
Well, the first thing is what I'm going to teach you next costs maybe 3 to 5 minutes a day, costs nothing in terms of money, is going to help you get better at almost anything. Now, you're probably listening to me thinking, ridiculous, too good to be true. Half the people that start doing this quit within 2 weeks. By the way, anybody that tells me this is easy to do, you prove one thing to me: you've never done this. This is not easy to do. My clients are not stupid people. None of them says, it's not easy for me to do. People ask me, do I have a coach? I've had someone talk to me almost every day for 27 years to try to help me. Why? My name is Marshall. I'm too cowardly and undisciplined to do this stuff by myself. I need help. You think I'm better than my clients, these wonderful people? No. You think I don't need help? No. You think I don't screw up every day? No, I screw up every day. We all do. We're humans. Well, this stuff's hard. You tell me it's not hard. You've never done it before. I've done it for 27 years. I can tell you this stuff is very hard. Now, how does it work? It's simple. It's not easy. Get a spreadsheet. On one column, list a series of questions that represent what's most important in your life: friends, family, coworkers, whatever. Every question has to be answered with yes or no or number, 7 boxes across, one for every day of the week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Every day you fill it out. At the end of the week, I'm going to tell you that report card is not going to be as beautiful as the corporate values plaques you see stuck up on a wall. All those fancy buzzwords on the wall. No. Look at that every day. It's not so pretty. You know what you learn real quick? You learn that life is incredibly easy to talk, and life is hard to live. Life is easy to talk. And now I'll share some of my questions. They're not intended to be yours. One question is, for example, did you do your best to avoid proving how smart or right you are? I don't see so many zeros in my scorecard there. Kind of hard for that old professor not to prove how smart he is all the time. How about this one? Did you do your best to avoid making angry or destructive comments about other people? Well, sometimes I fail on that one. I don't want people stabbing me in the back. Why am I stabbing them in the back? My friend would tell you one of his questions: are you currently updated on your physical exam? First 90 days he did this, he said no every day. He said, this is embarrassing. He and I went over this stuff every day. He said, I got to get this stupid exam or quit asking. He got the exam. Doctor said, you have cancer. That was many years ago. He's going to be fine. The doctor also said, had you waited 7 more months, you would have been dead. He knew he should have got the exam. He was the chief learning officer of 3 multi-billion-dollar companies. He knew he should have got the exam. He didn't do it. Hold a mirror in your face. You can't hide. Okay, everybody listening, are you ready? How many people listening to me right now have ever avoided a physical exam before and told yourself, I'm going to get the exam after I go on my healthy foods diet, lose a little weight, and begin my exercise program? How many of you have done this? Oh, we've all done this nonsense. Do we trick the doctor? I was teaching at the University of Michigan. The guy said, Sir, did you trick the doctor? You know what he said? I am the doctor. Hey, this stuff's hard. It's easy to talk. It's hard to do. How about the trip to the dentist? Do you ever notice a flurry of dental floss activity the 4 days before you go to the dentist office, flossing away, blood's running out of your mouth? You sit down, have you been flossing? Oh, of course, dentist. How many times do you think the dentist heard that live? Who are we kidding? Who are we kidding here, right? This stuff is hard. It is hard to look in the mirror every day. It is hard to face the reality of our own lives. And it's hard to get beyond all this happy talk buzzwords. We're humans. It's very hard for us to accept our humanity and realize we're just humans. I'm going to help everybody. Sometimes I get a question, when do you think I'll get my act together? The answer is, I can answer that one with no doubt, never. There's no such thing as getting your act together. Look, if anybody would have their act together on paper, it would be the people in those 60 people I spent hours with. They would have their act together on paper. They look good. They don't have their act together. Every day we start over. Every day we start over. And it's like saying, now I'm in shape. I don't have to work out anymore. It doesn't quite work out that way. No, now I'm thin. I can eat the pizza. No, not really. That's not how it works. No. Every day you start over. And every day we do stupid things. Every day we act like fools. Every day we get angry when we shouldn't. You're human. That's not going to go away. All you can do in life is do your best. You show up every day. You breathe. You say, give it a best shot. And if you do this stuff, you're going to be better. You're certainly not going to be perfect. And by the way, if you start doing this stuff, you'll probably quit. That's okay. You'll at least be better for a while. See, one thing I've changed about in my life is this. I used to be much more negative about things like motivational speeches or little quotes and all that stuff. I'm not anymore. I've got 1.5 million followers on LinkedIn. I make little quotes for people. Little nice quotes might help them have a better life. In the past, I would have been cynical about that. Nobody's really going to change your life based on some little quote. Probably they won't. Maybe they probably won't. But you know what? Let's say they have a better minute. That's a lot of minutes.
You're right.
That's a lot of minutes. Say they have a better day, a better minute. It's all good. It's all good. You're helping somebody have a better minute. Fine. Declare victory here. Yeah. There's only one book that has the same ending, and they lived happily ever after. One type of book. What's the name of that book? It's called a fairy tale. It's not the real world. In the real world, start over. Start over.
Important insights. Well, looking ahead, what trends or challenges in leadership excite you most about the future of coaching and development?
Well, let me see if I can come up with an answer to that question. I'm working on something called MarshallBot, my own AI computer bot, right? And I want everybody listening to do me one favor, including you. I want everybody to go to marshallgoldsmith.ai. Marshall Goldsmith, my name with 2 L's, marshallgoldsmith.ai, and go to my little computer bot. You can ask my computer bot any question, and it's free. And I love it. For example, if you ask it, how can I be happier? Happiness is an inside job. Don't expect the world to make you happy. That's a recipe for disappointment. The key is to take responsibility for your own happiness. Here are a few suggestions. First, focus on gratitude, not grieving. It goes on and on and on. So this thing is amazing, and it's free. There's no trick to it. It's not like, well, you get this as free, but you pay for something else. Oh, no, it's all free. And it's marshallgoldsmith.ai. You can do it right now. Just go online, And then it ultimately said, put in your email. Well, that's just because then it'll remember who you are when you ask it questions. But it's free.
And I've actually, all the questions I've asked you today, I've gone through the Marshall bot and give me great answers, impactful answers, including to this one, where you say, looking ahead, trends and challenges in leadership that excite me most about the future of coaching and development include increasing globalization of business and the needs for leaders to think and act globally.
Right. Exactly. You can ask it that, and you can ask it pretty much anything. And you see, here's what happened. By the way, a lot of this has happened in the last 6 months too. What happened is this. My goal was it would answer about 80% of the questions you asked me as well as I could. That's gone. It can answer pretty much any question as well as I can now. Only a lot better and more questions. So my daughter, Kelly, I'm very proud of my daughter. She's got a PhD from Yale. She's an endowed chair professor at Vanderbilt here in Nashville. And she wants to trick my computer bot. So she said, how is your coaching philosophy related to utilitarian philosophy? I don't even know what utilitarian philosophy is. The thing studies utilitarian philosophy, studies my coaching, figures out how it's related, answers it exactly like I would answer it, and soon to be in 45 languages in 5 seconds.
Wow.
I don't think I can do that.
I think that'd be a tall order or ask of anyone to be able to do that.
I can't do that. I'm not competing with this guy.
Right. Well, finally, as we wrap up, Marshall, what do you hope for your legacy? What do you hope that it'll inspire the next generation of leadership coaches and thinkers?
I'm going to answer that on the macro level and the micro level. On the macro level, I just want to influence as many people as I can, help them have a better life. In the very limited time I have left, I'm 75 years old. I'm not naive. I'm not going to live forever here. I don't have that many years left. And just do the best I can do to make a positive difference in the lives of as many people as I can. That's the macro level. On the micro level, my mission is getting simpler and simpler and simpler. Let's imagine, Charles, that one person listening to this podcast had a little better life. One, you listener, you have a little better life. That's enough.
You're so generous with your time, with your resources. I wish more leaders were like you, Marshall. You've been so generous and kind to IMS throughout the years. I can't express my gratitude and thanks enough to you for all that you've done for me, for IMS, and for everyone in the coaching space and in leadership development. You really made a positive impact in transforming people's lives for generations to come. So thank you so much for joining me today, and remind our listeners how they can get in contact with you and learn more about your work and your Marshall bot.
Well, go to marshallgoldsmith.ai, just my name, Marshall has 2 L, Marshall Goldsmith, all one word, .ai. Boom, you're on it. And I'm updating my website right now, marshallgoldsmith.com. It's going to be really good. I'd say I'm totally rehashing it right now. So after March, it should be really fantastic. And again, it's all free. Everything is free. All my articles are going to be online, videos online, all kinds of stuff. It's all free anyway. And then if you ever need to talk, Marshall at marshallgoldsmith.com. I'm not hard to send an email to. And then finally, if you're ever in Nashville, Tennessee, I take a walk. I take a walk every day. Let me know before you get here. If I'm in Nashville, we go take a walk together. Now, by the way, I'm going to tell something going to impress these listeners' friends. Are you ready? The listener, you got kids, I'm going to impress your kids. Teenage kids, hard to impress. All right, who are my neighbors? One of my neighbors is in the Rascal Flats, great country group. One of my neighbors is Keith Urban. Oh, it gets better. One of my neighbors
But
is...
the biggest one you're leaving out.
Oh, I'm coming. One of my neighbors is Nicole Kidman. But the biggest neighbor I have, who owns the house across the street? She was here for Thanksgiving. The lovely Miss Taylor Swift. So you can now tell your kids, I got to listen to Taylor Swift's neighbor talk.
I hope this episode has provided you with valuable insights. If it has, I ask you to share it with someone who would also benefit from it. If you've been enjoying and gaining knowledge from this podcast, then subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can find all the previous episodes of the podcast and additional learning resources. You can also subscribe to the podcast on Apple or Spotify and leave up to a 5-star review.